Here in the US right now, you are legally able to rape a child if you marry them.
Is that okay? No!
I was legally married to my rapist at 16 years old.
Is that okay? No!
In California, it is estimated 22 children a day are forced into marriages.
And that's really fucked up. How young is too young? This is on my wedding night. I'm 15 here and he's 28. I didn't really know what was gonna happen to me after this, so I have a big smile on my face, which is always weird. That wasn't really me, you know, it was like a different person.
I was raised in what I believe is a cult. The abuse was sexual. He was 20. I was 13 when it started. And when he was done with me, he passed me to his friend.
We grew up in a cult. At 15, I was a freshman in high school, and I began to see a young man my age.
I was 17. This man showed up on the doorstep. Had a conversation with my father. They went to dinner, they came back, they said, Brittany, you're getting married.
And one morning, my dad told me to go talk to somebody who was sitting in a coffee shop. I was forced to marry him in a spiritual ceremony that night.
I thought it was my ticket to freedom. I said, okay. And I cried all night.
To me, it was like either I go to hell or I get married. So I should just get married, you know, and that's basically what I did.
I presented my student ID. They issued the license to my father. We drove home, and barely an hour had passed before signing that contract.
After that ceremony, they physically handed me over to this man, and he was able to leave the country with me.
It was a wave goodbye from all my siblings, my father, my stepmother, my aunt, on the porch.
And he basically became my rapist, my guardian, and my husband.
He drove me 10 minutes down the road and raped me in the backseat.
My life was taken from me that night.
These were his promises to me, that I could go to work, that I could go back to school. And he said that he just lived every man's dream and he owned me now.
I was told to give my body to my husband at any time he wanted it. I was told I couldn't use birth control.
I feel misunderstood, I feel empty, I feel hopeless. I have no education. I have nothing to my name.
6 months later, we returned back to the United States when I was pregnant, and I was legally married to my rapist at 16 years old. All of my rights were violated.
To place a child in a contract in which they have no escape, they cannot retain lawyers, they cannot access divorce. I didn't know how much power he had. I didn't know I couldn't get a divorce. If I run away and he calls the police will bring me back to him. That's the law, and at the time, that was the law in all 50 states.
Au 1er janvier 2025, 37 États sur 50 autorisent le mariage de mineurs. Parmi ces États, 4 n'indiquent aucun âge minimum. Le Mississippi, le New Mexico, l'Oklahoma et donc la Californie. Dans la majorité des États où le mariage est légal avant 18 ans, l'âge seuil est de 15, 16 ou 17 ans. Mais même dans ces États-là, des exceptions existent et permettent parfois de contourner ces limites, par exemple en cas de grossesse. Entre 2000 et 2018, 300 000 mineurs ont été mariés aux États-Unis.
There is this giant misconception when it comes to child marriage that it only happens in religious families, that it only happens overseas.
No, it happens across the board. It happens to people with or without religion. It happens to cover up sexual abuse. There have been a variety of arguments, such as, well, what happens if 2 minors want to get married? That should be allowed, right? I mean, 2 minors, they're in love. The majority of minors who are getting married are minors marrying adult men, are girls marrying adult men.
And a lot of people have said, what's the difference? They're not magically different at the age of 18. And they are different. They're a legal adult.
Child marriage always protects the adult. It never protects the minor.
California, it is estimated that 22 children a day are forced into marriages. Here in the US right now, you are legally able to rape a child if you marry them.
Uncle Darren!
Hi.
We are going this way.
Darren to the car.
Is child marriage?
I'm a survivor of child marriage. I was forced into a marriage when I was a child.
Okay. How old were you?
Under 18. Tell your friends. It's so hard to talk about. People don't want to be confronted with the horror that is child marriage, and it silences all of us. This is what I deal with every time. Every time, people don't care. Did you know child marriage is legal?
We are aware of it, but you guys just choosing every day.
I'm not.
But I understand that you're a victim, but
I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. And I'm here to tell people, everyone, from every country, thank you.
Thank you.
He had a son. So my daily life looked like taking care of his child, walking his dogs, cooking his meals. He hits me, he screams at me, he spits in my face, he spits in my food, he controls what I eat, what I drink, who I talk to, who I look at, how I breathe. Child marriage tells men everywhere that they can do whatever they want without consequence.
Yeah, so this was it. This is where I used to live. Like this, you see this blue one over here? It was probably similar size to that. For about 6 months, he just left me here living in the boat with 2 kids. And they were both like 5 and under. So it was a pretty dangerous situation. When I come and just remember being in a very desperate place, you know, physically, emotionally, that's when I really started to thinking about what I was gonna do next, how I was gonna get out of the relationship.
At 18 and a half, I accessed the computer at the library and I did some research. How do I get a divorce?
At 23 years old, that was when I got my first paycheck that he didn't control. I was finally able to file for divorce.
The divorce occurred weeks later. I managed to get a job as a receptionist at a Gold's Gym. And then after I would shower and I would sleep in my car.
Hey, Michigan, you're up next! Right now, child marriage is legal in California. Is that okay? No!
I started sharing my story publicly to raise awareness of this issue. And I show up at legislative hearings to share my personal testimony so that legislators can understand why the laws need to be changed.
Go ahead, Sara.
My marriage was a horror story, and I'm here today to give voice to the victims who have had their voices stolen from them.
A bill was introduced in 2017 by Senator Jerry Hill. We thought, okay, you know, this makes sense. Who's gonna fight this bill? Like, you know, who wants children to marry adults? That's gross, right? Well, the ACLU fought us, and Planned Parenthood fought us, basically trying to say that this would somehow erode reproductive rights. The bill, unfortunately, it got changed, it got amended. All it did was it added a small, what they called a protection that would require a judge, if they thought there was coercion or fraud involved in the marriage, then they could have an interview. From my perspective, that is a more harmful situation for a minor. I was coached. Every time I went to see the doctor, anytime I went to see any public official, I was coached on what to say. And that's really fucked up, because that's really what messes with your head later on, is that your abuser will tell you, you chose this. You chose this for yourself.
Nice to see you. Oh my gosh. Oh, so do you.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you again.
I have a lot of those though, don't I?
Oh my gosh.
I guess we have some similar tastes.
Yeah. It just seems like a lifetime ago. This is me at 12, just starting out, you know, fresh out of elementary school. I was fresh in the relationship at this time. He was 5.5 years older. And I look back at that at 12 and I also think, like, what was he thinking? Like, why were you, there's no reason for you to have any business with me. You know, I was 12, I was a child. It makes me sad seeing this because I was robbed of a lot of my childhood experiences. This is actually the day before the wedding. And I got married a week after I turned 17. You all know my story. I tried to escape. I think you could sense the weirdness or whatever, but I don't think you realize the damage. Well, I think that was the big distraction. You can see it in my pictures. I wanted the big Disney wedding. I got my big dress. I think that's the lie, though.
The common denominator, is it?
Yeah.
None of us actually said no. You say no, you're met with what?
Abuse.
Abuse.
A beat down.
I think we all knew that we were going to be punished somehow if we said no. For my engagement when I was 14 in England, I was shown that picture and I didn't really have a say in the matter. My mom just said, what do you think? You know, he's a nice looking boy. You know, you're very lucky to marry a boy like this. And so I had to like just go along with it. I was 14. It was just really passed on generationally, you know, down all the time. And then my parents tried to do that to us.
You lose your family. I mean, we just finished Thanksgiving. Did anyone hang out with their family? No.
Have you seen that as a daughter? Oh, I know the indignance is constant. I'm constantly like, how dare you? I look into my daughter's eyes and I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah.
As a daughter, I can understand your faults, but as a mother?
Trauma lives in the body. You can't think your way out of this. You can't massage your way out of it. You can't. And you definitely don't want to drink or drug yourself out of it because it'll kill you, for sure.
It absolutely still affects my life, my nervous system. You know, even now, like I shake, you know, when I get anxious or when I talk about it. I want to reclaim the pain that my body feels.
I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, the anxiety, you feel your heart's about to burst out of your chest for no fucking reason.
I am not going to sit in my horror alone. I am going to run, literally, this rage out of my body until every single one of these United States ban child marriage. And I will be in every single one of these states until the day that I die. It's only been 11 years since leaving. I just turned 29. I just got accepted to Colorado State University. I'm a nationally ranked triathlete.
Actually, my husband today, I'm not legally married to him. We had a ceremony in front of my closest family and friends, and that's really all that matters to me.
I have a beautiful and a perfect daughter. She's 5. I have a wonderful spouse. He has held me through suicide attempts. He takes care of me. He's gentle.
I don't want to share my story, but I feel like I have to because I don't want it to happen to anybody else. So.
The ocean frightens me because there's nothing to hold on to. You're just lost, trying to survive, trying to breathe. I don't want to drown in my symptoms. I don't want to drown in my fear. I want to practice. I want to continue to find strength in my body. I want to find myself again. And it takes time.